Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Horror Historians, a podcast that takes a closer look at the past and present state of online horror. And I am joined by my two co-hosts of this journey that I'm taking myself on. I'm joined by David King and Cleric of Madness. What's going on, guys?
That's a very good question. More kind of nothing, because I'm trapped inside.
Why are you trapped inside?
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to instantly date this episode?
This episode has been brought to you by COVID-19. COVID-19 is the new craze of staying inside.
Everybody's catching it.
Do you like not partying with your friends and staying inside instead? Well, try out COVID-19. COVID, because we care.
You know, I'm trapped inside, but for different reasons, because I've been sealed away for the good of the land.
Cleric you wouldn't know this, but Cleric is actually patient zero, the real patient zero.
Not of COVID-19, but of all of reality itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Reality took a big old dump right on Cleric.
Yeah, patient zero of COVID-19 was this scientist who's probably alive, according to Shine.
Probably.
Maybe. Let's not get political.
Do you think by the end of this, that person's gonna wish they were dead?
I wish I was, but that's unrelated.
No.
I mean, Clark, it's pretty easy these days if you really wish that. Just walk up to someone and ask them to cough on you.
Can I have a coof, please? There's going to be so much editing to do on this.
We'll see. I mean, you never know what I'll keep in. That's the thing. That's the thing. You may not have to do it, but I'm the one who gets to decide what stays in.
It's okay. I won't have to listen to it because I'm going to be hiding from the sound of my voice.
Oh, you don't like? Okay, that's interesting for a podcast.
Pulling a Johnny Depp never gets to see.
Actually,
anything.
like in all seriousness, something I want to ask you too.
Sure.
Since you're on podcast, do you like hearing the sound of your own voice? Are you fine with it? You do?
Yeah, I didn't always. I'm one of those people who can very distinctly remember the moment when his voice changed. I know I don't know if this is a common thing, but like for a lot of people I've talked to, they've said they don't remember the moment when their voice changed or their voice dropped. I do. And I was like, fuck, yes, I can actually like do all the impressions I want to do and actually have them sound good. So I had to get over the fact that my voice always sounds really high and tinny to me when I hear it played back, but I've gotten past that point. And I wasn't interested in performing or acting until the very moment my voice dropped. And I'm like, fuck yes. Okay, I'm good. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
And what about you, Clark? What do you think about hearing and listening to your own voice?
I would rather tear my own eye ears out.
We are in very different perspective. What about you, Skillfully?
For me, it's different. I mean, when I started out, when I started with Scare Your Friends, I really hated listening to my own voice. I really did. I couldn't stand my own. That's part of the problem why I have, because I've had other issues, and people who are listening to this probably know of Scare Your Friends if they know of me, and it's like, but like. I think it's pretty easy to see that the uploads of Scare Your Friends episodes have been very sparse, and I think part of that, and there's been other legitimate reasons, but like I think a big part of it is just having to listen to your own voice as many times as I do, to the point where by the time I actually release the episode, I hate the episode by the time it's done. Like I don't see the good in it. I see all the flaws that I couldn't fix, or like I'll think, oh fuck, I could have done that,
I get you.
It's why it takes me so long to edit stuff. Like I had the most recent video I uploaded, I had for like months, but it's like, man, I just do not want to listen to myself.
I could understand that, but only because like when I go back and listen to older episodes of Midnight Marinara, my Pasta Shade voice was so different in the first few episodes, and then it just changed and evolved over time. So when I do the voice now, it's almost a completely different voice than the voice I was doing at the beginning, and it's like surreal to hear that. So
All right. Well, we are gonna get it. So we probably should establish who we are first, because there are going to be people who maybe check out this podcast who don't know who any of us are. We're just three blokes talking on a microphone. So for this episode, and we're not 100% sure what we want to do with this project moving forward. I believe that we talked about looking at the past and present states of online horror, maybe how it started, where it hits peak, maybe how it's fallen off in recent times. And this could be with Creepypasta because that's kind of where all of our collective backgrounds are in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably where we'll start, and we'll probably reach out afterwards, but as we keep going with it. But let's talk about who we are. Let's go to the guy who probably has more experience with this stuff than a lot of other people in the world, quite frankly. So,
yeah, David.
Don't deflect. This is all your fault.
I know it is.
All right, so Cleric, why don't you had an interesting story for us that you told us way back months ago, and about how you started the wiki and everything else. I think some people would be interested in hearing that story.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna do introductions, not not dive immediately.
Well, your introduction. You are the creator of the wiki. That's what it says.
He is a man who needs no introduction.
I don't need an introduction. I do need a validation and justification for the war crimes I have committed.
The fact that we're all here is validation enough, right? I mean,
how old? So you were because it was made in 2008, I think.
2010.
2010. So that was 10 years. So you were in your early 20s then, right? Still, when you made this.
Clicks button on keyboard for calculator. 32.
It's your age minus 10. Are you kidding me?
22. Look, okay. I'm almost 33. Math is hard, okay?
All right. And clearly you don't regret this. Now, obviously you don't regret the decision at all to make the wiki. I would never say that privately. But here's the thing. I am going to give you an opportunity to answer a certain question. If you could go back in time and meet the 22-year-old version of yourself, let's say at I don't know what time, maybe the day before you made the wiki, what would you in theory say to this person?
Good luck. I mean, all of my life choices, for better or for worse, had led up to that moment, being unemployed and bored one night, and it's just gonna do it. Because honestly, if I didn't do it, somebody else would. So the wiki was really an inevitability, but
people have made the websites, the .coms and the
yeah,
and there's other ones too.
There was I don't know if it's still there, but there was a .org.
I don't know either, but I do know that at the time when I made the wiki, the .com had shut down.
Oh.
Yeah, because there was not enough interest, so they couldn't justify running ads on a site that wasn't getting traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who's had bad interactions with people on the internet relating to that, because some things recently came to light. It's kind of my fault. As we go forward, you're gonna find out a lot of things in Creepypasta. And Creepypasta adjacent media are my fault.
This is going to be fun. Strap in, everybody.
It's going to be fun when we get to it. And of course, as I've said, we our episodes in the future are probably going to focus on more specific topics. Today, we're just kind of having a general conversation about who we are and why we are interested in what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And I am actually interested with Cleric in one, but there's one question I've always wanted to ask him. I don't even know if he'll even know the answer to this, but you obviously were inspired to make this wiki. So I am curious, do you remember the first one you read? Or have you created one first before you made the wiki? Or do you remember something you read that
Well,
yeah, it doesn't mean the exact first one, maybe the first noticeable one, oh, this is kind of interesting. Maybe it kind of led to the idea of you wanting to make a wiki for it.
Well, I mean, there's a separate reason for a wiki unrelated to good stories.
Well, I know, but you were inspired to you wanted to do it. Clearly, there were reasons for you to do it.
Yeah,
so I'm
well,
curious.
like anything I do it for the horror community at large. It's not a reason of myself. It was more of as a service to people who wanted to read creepypasta but didn't have anywhere they could go to look at it, because like I said, the .com had shut down. It wasn't accepting new entries. A lot of the short snacky posts, like not like Who Was Phone, but like the Who Was Phone style, really short, meant to be copied and pasted copypasta, creepy copypasta, which is where the name creepypasta comes from.
Right.
It was getting lost at an alarming rate because people were just reposting them. And then you had things like Dead Bart that would get shared, and then people would be like, "Hey, what was that horror story with Bart dying?" And people couldn't go and find these things. And so somebody would have to dig up their copy of Dead Bart and repost it. And so it got to the point where the 4chan X board was so choked up with people asking, "What's this creepypasta? What's that creepypasta?" I read a story here last week and I can't remember what it was. And there wasn't a website that allowed you to search. And I was originally going to do Wikidot, which is where the SCP Wiki is. They're hosted on Wikidot. But I took one look at it and I was like, nah. And so I moved to then Wiki and now Fandom. And with absolutely zero idea of what the hell I was doing, no coding experience, especially in Wiki BBS, I went to a couple of other wikis that existed, poked around in the source code, and basically spent 10 to 20 hours that first day or two throwing together a somewhat functioning site. I also was joined by a couple of other people from the X thread that I think I had started about making a website, but I was the one to click the button. So my fault, my bad. Oops. Like I said, if I didn't do it, somebody else was eventually going to do it. And I'm just glad that I'm the one that did it.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are.
I, for one, am for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean,
I was back when you made it, I was like, how old was I? I was probably I was still in my teens at that point. I was fucking 13.
I was 2010. I think I would have just graduated from community college. So I don't think I even knew what creepypasta was at that time.
To be clear, I'm saying I'm trying to think of my age. It was in 2008. So
in 2008. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's at 2010. I was probably close to I was probably in high school when around the time.
It's your age minus 10 skill. It's not hard.
Ooh.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. Fuck.
Wow.
That was a turnabout. Hold it.
That's pretty awesome.
That was fucking holy shit. Cleric. Mwah.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah, you can have that one for free. The rest are going to cost you.
It's okay. I also want to mention that when I started the wiki, I had some clear goal in mind of organization, because that's one of my specialties is organization. You wouldn't know it from looking at my everything else in life, but I did top-down organization, which is I set a limited number of categories, some of which don't exist anymore because death and dismemberment and stuff like that, they still exist. I know death category doesn't, but it was more useful when there were fewer stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I did that because I used to browse game wikis, and I would see these pages with 500 categories, some of which were only for that one page. And I was like, if I'm going to have categories, because that's how this is organized on wikis, I want them to be categories that are useful for the reader and not things that exist solely for a page or two.
Right.
Because it was originally designed as a library to house all of the internet's creepypasta, which was scattered to the wind. There are still to this day probably some in the Screamcap Pasta archive on the wiki, which is a bunch of images of old Screencap creepypasta, obviously. That probably aren't on the wiki and probably only exist these days in that image. I know we, and by we, I think I mean Imperial Invective, went through and deleted the rest of the Nightmare Fuel and Creepy Image archives because of potential licensing issues, and because, 2010 was a different time where, attribution and authorship weren't really the focus of creepypasta. It was more of sharing short horror stories to unnerve and disturb. And nowadays, with Reddit and book deals and, Channel Zero, it's a lot more important to deal with that in a more proactive manner. And so although we haven't ever received any takedown requests for images, we still thought it was more prudent to act beforehand and remove all of the images because none of them were credited. A lot of them were just old 2008, 2009, 2010 images that floated around X a lot and were just spoopy images that people posted because, like I said, the internet was a different place a decade ago. Humor.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. And it's why I've contacted people like r/Sleepless Watchdogs about stuff, because there was briefly issues. We've had issues with the CCBYSA licensing on the wiki. I'm sure some people in here could tell you all about it.
Well, we haven't even gotten to David yet.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, but I don't want to, and I don't want to do it. It's not something I necessarily want to dwell on because it's not what the focus is.
Well, yeah.
We don't have to talk about everything, obviously.
I mean, I more so mean it's kind of, once again, all my fault.
Not necessarily, because
I think you created
I can explain that. I don't mind explaining that circumstance because a lot of people have, I think that some of that's been lost in the woodwork too. What happened? People who don't know me, like, what the hell are you talking about, son? And I'll explain later.
All right. But I think that covers why I created the wiki. I wanted to create a searchable, organized database of creepypasta to an underserved niche viewership.
Now, to be fair, Cleric, that one of the first places I started looking for stuff to read and where I got into creepypasta was through the wiki. So there's a silver lining right there.
Yay!
Just putting it out there.
Okay, so let me try to think like what else we can.
We should probably introduce the other two of us.
I know that's definitely true. There is there was one other thing I did want to talk about. Well, I don't even know if this is like relevant. I guess we can cut this if we want. One of those like wiki like meetings, like the ones that you get invited to because you made like a popular like wiki. Like, do you meet people or do you like, or is it?
Of course. I met people from like the TARDIS wiki and my good friend Fish Tank, who is now wiki staff. It escapes me what wiki he came from, but that was the first community connect I went to before he was staff. I met the head admin at the time of the Five Nights at Freddy wiki, and for a while we liked to go back and forth on who had the worst user base. It was me.
Worse than
they might have had
worse than FNAF.
That's kind of shocking.
They might have had small children, but we did have that one Slender Man incident, so I unfortunately.
Well, that was small children. They're like 12. I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but like,
Is it okay to laugh about some of that now, or if it's enough time passed that it's now comedy equals?
Well, it doesn't matter. You already
tragedy
laughed.
plus time?
You already laughed at it, David. So
Okay, well,
either
fair.
people are going to think you're in the right, or people are going to think you're in. I mean, it's too late
Is
now.
it okay to laugh at that?
It's the only way
can't
to
laugh at
handle
something
it.
and
The
then
only way to
ask-
handle what was a fucking tragedy is with levity, because it's so fucking stupid that even happened in the first place. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, I think you can laugh at it honestly because there wasn't, a permanent victim. Like there obviously was a victim, but like,
There
she
wasn't a
like,
permanent
lived-
victim. Skill doesn't have object permanency.
No one died, but
that's not what I meant. That wasn't the word I thought of in my head. I thought more like someone didn't die, but I was trying to say it smart, and I said permanent victim. I was like,
no one shuffled off the mortal coil as a result. So
right, that's what I was trying to say.
I understood.
I'll
I
edit the end
understood
of
what
my
you
statement
meant.
with what
There are
David just said.
lasting scars on community and people.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
no,
that's still a
death
tragedy.
toll.
And
Absolutely tragedy.
And we're gonna have to talk about that in detail at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
In the run of
I'm
the
just
show.
saying it's easier to joke about it when no one actually died, permanent death, like that kind of shit,
Yeah, exactly. No permadeath.
No permadeath.
Everybody respawn.
Everyone's undefeated until they're not.
Ah, man, this podcast will make the third time I have had to talk about Slender Man on a podcast. Maybe fourth.
Wow.
It's always fun.
I can't imagine that we're not going to have an episode where we talk about Slender Man in some form.
Oh, we're going to have to.
It's impossible to talk about, be the horror historians without talking about the Slender.
Oh yes, in the chapter of Jeff the Killer.
Oh no.
Everyone always forgets that Jeff the Killer wore a fake cowboy hat.
The historians always asked, who was Phone? Was it us or was it the author?
It was Mom. Get it together.
Well, weren't we all Phone?
I think deep down in our hearts.
The telephone was Phone. Duh.
Well, I think Cleric, at the end of the day, at some point in our lives, we are Phone at some point in our lives.
Isn't Phone just the friends we made along the way?
No, that's Phone Tag.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Telephone was never my favorite game. Oh.
It's the friends we phoned along the way.
Phoned along the way. All right, let's get to David then. So,
Hi.
David.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing okay, honestly.
How long have you been sober?
I'm
just kidding.
Hey, so I'm David, and I have a gambling problem. This is Gamblers Anonymous, right?
No, that's the next door down.
This is
fuck.
Pasta Anonymous. This is people who are addicted to pasta and Italians.
I think pasta's okay. I like some pasta. Quite partial to cheese tortellini, but
get them out of here.
You want to know my deep dark secret? There it is. Okay.
My dark secret.
I love tortellini.
Tortellini is really good.
Is that the one that's filled?
Yeah,
but 3 cheese is really good.
I can imagine a listener clicking on this and wow, horror story we're going to talk about, and they talk about their pasta preferences.
I think I'm going to make gnocchi when this is over.
Oh,
I want pasta.
God damn it! Y'all are making me hungry. Okay.
All right, well, David,
what would you like to know, sir?
I don't know. Let me try to. So, Claire, do you have any questions as well?
Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here? Where's my horse?
This isn't me interviewing anyone. This is just we are. So in a general sense, talk about Midnight Marinara. Talk about your first time, coming across this wiki that this mysterious person made, and thinking, man, this wiki sucks. This person who fucking made it just fucking ruined the internet. I mean, man,
internet ruined forever. But then I appeared and made everything. No, what happened was I had graduated college. I have the very expensive piece of paper that says I'm a creative writing major, which of course I'm not going to get hired anywhere. I chose the most, I don't know if there's a degree that is potentially worse, but in terms of trying to get a job, but I mean, the one takeaway I can say is that I had a really good time in college and learned a lot about writing and theory of writing and crafting. So it felt good to be done. But after I got done, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my time? I got college done. Now what? So I took a year to kind of, just kind of work my day job and then think about what I wanted to do with this piece of paper. And somewhere in the midst of that, I stumbled across creepypasta. This is like, I graduated in 2012, so this was a little bit after that. Now, I was familiar with internet horror before that, but not to the degree that I'd found this one place where everybody was posting spooky stories. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty legit. I'm trying to remember when I first posted the grad night story. I think that was in 2013. So I think I was writing that before I was even doing the podcast. But the reason I opted to do this was because for a long time I've been working with a group of YouTubers called Random Encounters, the channel called Random Encounters. I've been a frequent performer guest on their show, and they gave me a chance where a lot of other people didn't, in terms of like letting me like perform with them and collaborate with them on stuff, which is interesting because I just kind of met them out of the blue and that happened. But they kind of got me inspired to want to do my own thing like that. But the thing is, I don't have a camera, I don't have anything like that, but I've always been really interested in doing audio and audio editing and writing. And I'm like, I can take these two things and I don't have to be on camera. I can focus on just using my voice, mixing sound effects together, doing all that stuff. And I don't talk about this a lot, but one summer while I was still in college, I was trying to make just for fun, I wrote down a 2-act audio drama adaptation of The Secret of Monkey Island. Because I was like, this would be super fucking cool as a radio play. I would love to do this, but it never got off the ground. I tried to put it together. No one was interested. So you
wanted to make, so you tried to make a radio play with who, the Random Encounter guys, or were you just trying to release this on your own again?
I was trying to do it on my own. I actually didn't, when I first started conceiving this, I didn't know Random Encounters.
Oh, okay.
I met them, I want to say, this is terrible because it's off the top of my head. I actually met them, I think in late 2011, early 2012. Maybe it was early 2012 because, no, it must have been 2011. I can look this up, but I'm not going to because that requires multitasking. So no, I met them at a con and we struck up a conversation. I think me and one of the former members of the group, Peter, we actually bonded over our shared love of Mass Effect. And that got me into their good graces. My first role was doing the voice of the T-shaped Tetris block in their Tetris musical, which looks a lot like a VeggieTales sketch. So that was fun. And I just kept doing voices for them and bit parts for them from that just when I could. And I still work with them. They're still a lot of fun to work with. I like them a lot. Like I said, they gave me a chance where a lot of other people wouldn't have. I am forever grateful for that. But the Monkey Island thing was different. That was like early me trying to find a foothold for just trying to do creative stuff. And I wrote the whole thing down. I tried to recruit friends from college. I actually did get some recording done. And then it just didn't go anywhere. So I've been wanting to do a radio play kind of thing for a while because I love audio drama. I love radio theater. So
what got you, anything in particular that got you into it? Like, did you listen to something, or was it like like the concept of it and that was it?
I've always liked the concept, but growing up, I've told this story before in other places, but I'm happy to share it here too. Because like when I was growing up, my parents were divorced, and we would drive to see my dad, who lives 2 hours away, on weekends. And I would, when we would leave around the time of night that we'd leave, because my mom, was working her day job, and she'd get done, we'd get in the car, we'd meet halfway, and then I'd go home. But the local news station would have what they call the drama hour, where they would play old radio plays. So we would spend a lot of these drives listening to these old radio plays, and I would get really into them. There were things like the Lone Ranger would play. They would do like Dragnet, Phil Marlowe, Sam Spade, a lot of the older stuff. But the stuff I really loved was like when they would do the anthology series that were like, Suspense, The Whistler, Lights Out, things like that, like this, the spooky stuff, the stuff that felt Twilight Zone-esque. The Whistler in particular stuck out to me because it had a host character who would show up at the beginning of every episode with a whistle, and he would, just be, I am the Whistler, and I know many things that men want to keep secret, stuff like that. So that stuck with me. And that framing device stuck with me. So I just knew that it was something that I've always had kind of an ear for music and an ear for audio, but I'm a kind of a self-taught audio editor. So,
likewise.
I mean, yeah, that's,
really, I'm not good at it, but I am self-taught. We're all self-taught, even if we suck.
It's true. We're all self-made men.
Human. I built him out of clay.
What?
And then you put
self-made man.
Yeah, and then you put the word for truth on the forehead, and then boom, golems. So
that's a piece of paper inside the mouth.
Oh, was that how it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got my lore wrong.
I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a piece of paper.
It was like there's a piece of paper, but there was also the word, because like if you took the word for truth and you erased part of it, instead becomes the word for death, and that's what causes the golem to deactivate. But the piece of paper in the mouth is part of it too. I do remember that now. Thank you, Cleric. Where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, so flat. Okay, I rambled a lot. I rambled a lot. I'm sorry. So okay, 2013. I'm going through trying to figure out what I want to do. Creepypasta comes up. I'm reading them. These are good. I find the internet narrations, they're not so good. I'm not as into them. Like, they're just reading the story. What's the point of that? So I think to myself, wait, this is an anthology. You could do a lot of these as an anthology because they're standalone stories. What if they were presented like that? Better yet, what if they were presented like radio plays? Like they were like short stories that were adapted into proper audio dramas. And this like light went off in my head. And I started kind of working on this idea kind of tentatively, but I would, talk to people I knew, see if they thought it was feasible. My roommate at the time, Emma, did the first initial art of the Pasta Shade. And I didn't have a concept of what the Pasta Shade was at the time. It was just like, I want a host character who kind of introduces the thing. And then so Midnight Marinera was the result of this. The first episode came out October 30th, 2013, and it was just 2 minutes long. It still exists out there if you want to hear it. I managed to get some people I knew who I actually met through random encounters and through the con circuit a little bit here in Los Angeles to do their parts. And then from there, I was doing episodes twice a month because I had a huge backlog of material I wanted to cover. And I always reached out to the original authors and was like, hey, where I knew them, and would be like, can I adapt your work to an audio drama? Like, obviously, full credit goes to you. It's going to be transformative work, but it's going to be an adaptation of the work to work in an audio medium. And I think there was only been one instance where someone has said, you can't do that. And I totally understood the reasons why. But everybody else was usually really on board with it. So from 2013 onward, for a long time, kind of on again, off again, I was making these audio dramas. And what I originally did as kind of an experiment to just learn how to make radio plays in a sense that I didn't have to make a giant saga, it became kind of what I'm known for. Although I think more people know me through Undercooked Analysis. So, which that in itself was just a spinoff. That was just something I could do in my spare time between episodes. And then it just kind of ballooned and became its own thing.
Oh man,
I have less to talk about with that one for some reason.
Yeah,
the juggernaut that ran.
I followed your work for pretty not too early on, but definitely early on. That's how I came up, was through the MM community that was established. And I think I asked this of you back then, and I'm going to put you on the spot right now. And I think I already know what the answer is going to be, but Pen Pal, what's up with that?
I mean, I don't fucking know.
Okay. I really put you on the spot there. I'm sorry.
You did. Pen Pal, I mean, the tricky part with that is it's already been covered. It's already been turned into a copywritten thing. So
yeah, I can see that being a bit of an issue. I mean, I think
people have asked me, but I've looked at it, and the other thing with it too is it doesn't. lend itself super well to a radio play in my mind.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It would be very hard. I'm not saying it wouldn't be almost impossible to do, to have that. I mean, it would be. You would have to get some very good, like basically child actors, really. I mean,
yeah, you'd
they
also
would have to
need
be really good.
Yes, absolutely. You'd also need to have a good narrator. I feel like that story is almost impossible to do without a narrator. And the way I try to do Midnight Marinera episodes is to have the story be as diegetic as possible without a narrator in the story. That's impossible with some stories, but I try to make sure that doesn't happen as often as it. I prefer when the characters are just there in the scene, doing a scene, and the sounds and what they say can tell the story. So there have been other stories I've passed over, even though people said this would be really good for your podcast. And I would read the story and go, I don't think this can work. I don't see a way to adapt this to make it make sense. I've had to stretch really far with some of them. But usually it's because I was struck with inspiration and could see a way that could be tweaked to work in an audio medium, a non-visual medium. So yeah, the Pen Pal is an amazing story. But there were a lot of roadblocks to potentially getting that done as a Midnight Marinera, even if I did want to adapt it, and I kind of did. It'll obviously be a very hard thing to do. Yeah.
But are you going back to Emma? So you're saying she basically created what you would describe as the pasta shade at this point, like the thing that you've used as your I guess your symbol, so to speak.
Yeah. So the pasta shade, I basically gave her two rough ideas for designs. Originally, I just wanted to have this like generic looking figure kind of looming out of the shadows, almost like almost something kind of akin to like the Rake or something, just like this emaciated, shadowy figure holding a fork with a meatball on it toward the camera. Just because the whole thing was supposed to be kind of tongue in cheek. I like the main inspirations for the show were, besides the old radio plays, were also kind of Tales from the Crypt and like the Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, things like that, anthology series. But there was a framing host to it. She did a couple designs, but the one I liked was this one with this cloaked figure, and I'm like, okay, let's go with that. That's the one I like more. So she worked with me. And not only did she design the initial logo, but when I reached, I think my first, when this was still on YouTube, when I reached 1,000 subs, she designed the new version where you can see the rib cage and it has the misty like fog coming off of it, So the one that I think is more widely adapted. So she got a chance to revisit it, and I love that design. That was completely without my input. She just gave it to me on a whim and said, here's a cool redesign of the pasta shade. You want it? And I'm like, hell yes, I do. So, and that worked its way into the story too, which is really funny because he left and actually got essentially a facelift during his time away one Halloween. So yeah. And the only reason I ended up doing a Peter Lorre voice for that, because it's one of the few impressions I do that I think is really good. I had originally kind of wanted to do like maybe a Vincent Price, but I'm like, no, this is kind of kooky and corny. So he didn't have the name Pasta Shade from the beginning. I just originally had him as like the maitre d'. Like the whole idea was he was just this creepy anonymous figure that served you. But someone wrote me a message and referred to this entity as the Pasta Shade, and I'm like, I like that. It's goofy and I like it. So I ran with it, and he just kind of became the Pasta Shade as a result of several other people having kind of coagulated this idea in my head. So credit where credit is due.
All right, Cleric, you got anything to say, Cleric?
I talked for a really long time. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all right.
I have a lot to say.
It's the part where I say, what day is it?
It's
the day technically just passed, actually. So technically, as we're recording this, literally a day just shifted over, at least on the eastern coast. So,
yeah, I'm living right next to the Pacific Ocean, so it's still pretty early for me.
I'm living pretty much close to the east coast.
Time is a useless, formless concept for me.
It certainly is going to be that way for everybody else if this carries on much longer.
Yeah, trapped in our homes. All right.
I have a question for you, sir. Feel free.
Oh.
Yes, because it's your turn. Tell us about your.
Well, first of all, I absolutely shouldn't have gone last. That was a fucking horrible mistake because I don't know
My name is
if I.
Gil, and I'm here to chill.
But no, we're think about it this way. We're going in kind of like a weird chronological. Like Cleric's work was what kind of inspired me, and then you. I'm not trying to sound like an egotist when I say this, but
No,
you found
right.
my
Yeah,
work.
I did find
then,
your work, and then,
so tell me about that. Like I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I absolutely shouldn't have gone last. But, the thing, unlike these two, is that I had absolutely no interest in writing, literature, or really anything in those fields. I was a math guy. Although I guess technically, I mean, I met when I was in high school. I did edit a sports paper, a high school sports paper, and that's where I met Dylan from Scarier Friends.
Oh, nice! I didn't know this.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, it's just one of those weird things where it's like, I don't know. I think on and off, I have this idea of like being I guess like it's so cringe to say these days, but like I guess like a gamer online, so to speak. Like I wanted to make a persona and live stream and make videos, and I never really knew what I wanted to do with it, so I kind of just didn't for most of it. And yeah, I pretty much went through high school. You know, I never really got into many things horror related. Like, not really. I never really got into literature. Really didn't read much. Although high school was when I first stumbled across the creepypastas and stuff. I think I was a little bit younger, maybe like right before school, where I read Squidward Suicide. And that prompted me to actually Google to see if the episode was real. It wasn't, of course. This was.
It is now.
I still
Another
can't
thing that's my fault.
The fact that
is crazy.
They made a that's
that is
crazy.
absolutely. I don't care what you think is your fault or the fact that you made that so that it wouldn't be lost to the sands of time, and now it's actually in what probably is the most popular Nickelodeon show ever. That Squidward Suicide actually exists in the SpongeBob mythos.
Yeah, it's canon now. Help!
I just think it's crazy, but no, I mean, like I think like when I was younger, I think I like had I think I read a creepypasta. Like I was somewhat interested in it. I wasn't really into it, but you know, like I read a few things. I thought most was kind of whatever. But I read a few that I liked, and I still remembered them as I eventually returned to it. I'm trying to really think that because I graduated from high school, and I really didn't I wasn't trying to make a YouTube channel or anything like that at that point. It was when I was in college, and I realized that I just had a lot of downtime. So I was a bit of an introvert. I didn't really like partying too much. I have stories where I did very stupid shit in college, but for the most part, I was pretty introverted. And then I just noticed I had a lot of creativity that I needed to let out. So I dabbled with live streaming. I've had alt accounts that I've had several accounts. Most are deactivated at this point. The others you'll never know of. And I'm trying to think, so basically, Skillfully was just it was a dumb idea I had for a username on Xbox, because my other one got reported on a game called PvZ, which is it's a Plants vs Zombies third person shooter game.
Oh,
I had a user account called Cashew Overdose, and I got reported. The name got flagged, I guess, by some concerned parent for. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. The name got flagged. Yeah,
I've also overdosed on cashews. I'm personally offended.
Right. So I was playing, and again, the thing with the PvZ game is it was rated E10. So and just a quick side thing, you know how in Call of Duty, if you hear their microphone for 2 seconds, if they scream, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
If they scream in rage, and it's kind of fun. Imagine that, but with a bunch of very little kids.
Oh,
so it was really satisfying to really just nuke some poor kid with a corn thing or whatever, with a corn bomb. It was amazing. And I loved that game. But one day I tried to log into my Xbox and like I got some message basically saying that your account has to you have to change your name. Your account's been flagged. If you do this again, we may like suspend your account. So you have to change your name. We'll reactivate your account when you like change your name. And so I'm like, I really, I named it something dumb. And then eventually I hated that. I basically I tried to keep like the cashew in the name. I called it like something really dumb. I called it like Cashaway or something. But it was dumb. And then I changed it to Skillfully.
I had not heard this story. This is fascinating.
No, I wasn't really doing anything with it. Like occasionally I tried live streaming with I think the PS4's like live streaming functionality. Like you can do that. There's like old clips of me playing like Rocket League after that were after I had started with Scare Your Friends, but I had with like Dylan and stuff. But like again, like I'm trying to think like when like changed for me. Because even after I heard of MM and everything, like I still wasn't like I wasn't gonna try and like get into that. I wasn't gonna try and get into horror. I knew nothing about it. I still really don't. I don't claim to be an expert. I just sound like an expert compared to the Scare Your Friends.
But you don't. But that's the thing. So, you don't have to be an expert. Like I know. An expert, but like
don't feel bad. I don't know what a creepypasta is.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, I just want to like interject here and be like, look, we just really you don't have to be an expert if you're passionate about it and you take the time to like look into it. I think that's what matters more than anything else, honestly.
Right. So, and again, I wasn't, I liked listening to like music and stuff when I like walked around campus, and when I got into podcasts too. I'm a big sports fan. I listen to a lot of sports podcasts. And eventually, I did stumble on, I think it was, so the story about, I'm not going to get too deep into this, but like essentially when I was in college and I was in some really boring classes, I was looking for games to play during these classes because some of these classes really fucking sucked. And they were just credits and, all sorts of bullshit I can talk about later. But I came across a game called Town of Salem, which was a browser. It's still out there. I don't really play it anymore, but it was a browser game where you essentially are this town and you get a role. You're either a good role or you're a bad role. You're with the town or you're against the town, and you have to figure out who's the bad guy and hang them essentially in the town square at the end of every day. And if you're the bad guys, you obviously have to get rid of the town and take over the town and do your whatever.
Right.
So I got into it, and then I basically it's this weird like very thin thread that like led me to this point from there. Like I found a video from this very small YouTuber with like 700 subscribers. His name was Tormental. Didn't really know the guy, had no idea who he was. He was just some doofy looking Town of Salem YouTuber. So I followed him and played some games with him, and it was all fine. And I remember, I don't want to really get into the story too much, but like basically, well, I'll get into it because it's a little bit funny. I used to do a job where I was a lifeguard, and it was raining like hard, but I was still at the pool. So it was a place where there was a place you can go inside and like, stay like warm or whatever. No one's coming to the pool. And I don't know why they haven't called me to like say, hey, you can leave or whatever. But I don't really care. I mean, I'm getting paid by the hour. So if I'm staying there, I'm getting paid. So it is what it is. I had my laptop with me, and I was just surfing YouTube, and I'm going through my subscriptions, and I see the Tormental guy. He makes a video where he's basically he played this FNAF clone of an Abandoned by Disney game. Mm-hmm. It was Abandoned by Disney, but with FNAF essentially. Mm-hmm. And he basically made a very short thing saying, "Hey, I'm going to be playing this game." Based on a story I created called Abandoned by Disney. And I kind of blinked because I was like, wait, like that can't be right. And then it just led to me digging deeper and deeper. And I swear to God, for like 4 hours, I was like just pointing at the stories I read from when I was back in high school. Like I hadn't seen any of this shit in like 4 or 5 years, but I remembered it. And a lot of the ones I remembered were Slime Beasts. They were his.
The Neil Cicierega of creepypasta.
I fucking But I don't know, like I found, and it just kind of blew my mind, honestly, because I was like, I had followed this guy for months, and I was like, oh, he's just the stupid TOS guy, you know. Nothing against him, obviously, but like yeah, that's what it was. He was a kind of a silly YouTuber who would play TOS, so I didn't really think much of it. But I didn't think he was the author of like Abandoned by Disney and fucking whatever. So then, yeah, I find his other stuff, and I come across, you know, Jump Scared, his old podcast that he used to have, and then that's when I found David and DP and found UCA and everything. And I don't know, that was it. I mean, really, I mean, the rest of it's just, you know, I think I mean, like it's just me like interacting with the small little community that was being built in MM and with Too Spooky.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Orion thing where he made the forum, and I helped him with that a little bit.
I do remember that. So. And that was, you know, a good little earnest effort, and I appreciated that. I was like, wow, people want to do this for the shit I'm making? What the fuck?
Yeah. It's definitely a little bit weird thinking about it. Got to this point, but like, and again, I don't like talking about myself, which is the other reason. I feel like I should be entertaining since we're like on the recording right now. But I understand the need to like in the pilot episode to talk about ourselves, where we come from.
We're listing our credentials more or less.
Yeah, but that's the thing, David. I don't have any. I have none.
But Skill. I literally just said, hey, you don't have to have credentials to just enjoy this stuff and then put out your own content, because that hasn't stopped anybody else before.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, the long and the short of it was basically, at one point there was these UCA episodes where you two had covered the 1999 stuff.
That's right.
That's what made me, because I had a bunch of YouTube channels and I was making some stuff on one of them, and I had the Skillfully one kind of on reserve. I wasn't using it really.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided I wanted to make that video. 1999. Was it plagiarized? It was an awful. It's so cringe thinking about it now, because I basically didn't know what I wanted it to be.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know if I had to like. I didn't know if I wanted it to be lighthearted, or if I think I was trying to sound like Rob Dyke. I think I was trying to like put a really serious voice on it. Meanwhile, I'm basically, this is the recording setup for that first video, the entire thing. I have my laptop in my bed. I have an Xbox headphone. I have Xbox headphones, but they're not going on my head because one of the ear things is broken, so I can't get it on my head. So I lay it on the computer. I fire up this really crappy recording thing. I think it was like literally like a screen share.
Oh.
And I literally bent over, sitting Indian style, like bent over the laptop and was talking, trying to sound as much like Rob Gavigan, aka Rob Dyke, as much as I could, trying to make this really serious thing. And I can't listen to it anymore, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's weird. It's weird thing about that video.
He was using unregistered HyperCam 2.
But to be fair, Senpai noticed. So
I mean, that again, I'm not saying anything about you, but I hate that term, and I guess maybe I did a little bit, but I hate that terminology. I did not want to I didn't want to make like people feel like, I actually almost felt bad.
I'm just being a dick. Don't
I know.
Worry about it.
I was so self-conscious about that stuff that I almost didn't even want to mention the UCA episode in the video. I almost didn't mention it because I was just so self-conscious about that. Like, I didn't want you two to look at me and be like, oh, look at this fucking guy, you know, try to fucking, oh yeah, please daddy senpai, please notice me. Like, I couldn't fathom thinking about that. I did not want to be on the receiving end of that, you know. I hate that shit.
Well, to be fair, I don't feel like that was your intention either. Like,
I didn't, and I think then one of you replied to it, and it kind of made me happy for whatever reason, and I don't know. And then like I don't know, I kept trying like different shit. I kept trying different shit after that. I think I made one with like the egg one, the fucking like the egg story.
Oh yeah,
an egg.
And that fucking video fucking sucked dick. And then I tried doing like narrations, my own narration. They're fucking garbage. I think they're off the channel now, but and again the same kind of like Good evening, everybody. It's me, Skillfully, and I'm about to expose 1999. Like, comment, subscribe.
It's right here for all these seats.
It's like I'm trying to think of like a Rob Dyke thing, like these 10 women. Like I can't do like the really deep but like forceful, like these 10 women were brutally murdered, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like that's like something he would say, like in his top 10.
These 10 creepypasta were brutally murdered by these narration channels.
Right.
These 10 creepypasta were murdered by their narration channel. Number 5.
Oh fuck, Clerk's mic broke.
He's using his text-to-speech program now.
I don't know, like I think like I hate, again, we can understand how I'm like literally curling to a ball right now because I just hate talking about myself. Okay, I hate it. But
then stop.
I'll say this one more thing. One more thing. The only other noticeable thing, of course, was the only thing that I'm pretty much known for, which was Scare Your Friends.
Mm.
And there's a little bit of a funny story because the idea came to me again through UC. Big surprise. I've been ripping those guys off for years. But the
I'm sure they're very mad about it.
Yeah, I've gotten DMs. I have the DMs. No, but I don't know what it was. I think there was this one, like it was a bunch of you guys. And I think one of you said something to the effect of like, hey, we're all just a big bunch of dumb idiots just reading stories. And I kind of saw that, and it was an enjoyable episode because I was like literally like walking in a park, as I usually do. I was like walking in a park, like listening to you guys on my phone. Just talk. That's what I like to do when I was in college. And basically, I kind of thought to myself, because this is like maybe around like early October 2015 or something, and I'm thinking to myself, I literally like almost answered whoever that was, and I said, well, not really. I mean, like, I think it was like you, it was Slime Beast, it was Nocturne, it was a bunch of whole slew of people.
That was the Ronald McDonald house.
Yes, it was the Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of people there, and a lot of them, had done some stuff.
Yeah.
So I disagreed entirely with the sentiment. I don't know which one of you said it, but it was one of you.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
And then I thought, like, I wonder if because I kind of thought, like, my friends, they're not, like, I don't think my friends are stupid, but like they don't. This isn't something that they know about. They don't know about my side into this. They don't know about creepypasta, to my knowledge. I think Dan told me that he read like Ben Drown like years ago, but they knew nothing. They really did know like almost nothing. And I remember this so clearly. We were in Dylan's house. We were just hanging out, and I had I want to. Oh my god, this is bringing back so many memories. I in college they had a Mario Kart 64 tournament where a bunch of college kids could sign up and do it, and the grand prize was a $150 gift card, $150 to any place you want.
Oh hell yeah,
$150. Well, I won the fuck out of that tournament.
Hell yeah!
I won the $150, and I went to do.
Who was your kart? Who was your racer? Gotta know.
It was Mario.
Hey!
Yeah.
I usually play Mario or Toad, but yeah. Well, that's actually
I absolutely fucking I don't like tooting my own horn, but I fucking wrecked some fucking kids. Like it wasn't even close. I fucking killed them.
You had no chance of beating me, Mario. Whoa!
So I don't know. I won $150 and I just did it for Best Buy.
Oh no.
I didn't use the money yet, but I had come home and I said, you know what, this is gonna be the day. I'm going to Dylan's house. I'm gonna spring the idea on them. So on a whim, I go to Best Buy and I pretty much drop all the money I had on that card on the microphone that I'm currently using right now. The Yeti microphone. It was like $120 at the time.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I took it was still in the box. I drove from the Best Buy to Dylan's house. Mm-hmm. They had no idea that I was planning this. They had no idea I was going to even ask this question. They had no clue. They couldn't have. I'm going to another man's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were like just hanging out or whatever and doing our normal thing. We had gone out to dinner. We had come home, blah, blah, and we're just chatting. I think we had just like watched a movie or something when we're in Dylan's room. And at that point, I decided I was going to spring the idea on them. I was like, hey guys, listen, this is genre called creepypasta. and through
What?
a fucking weird sort of like they didn't. I think the majority of them thought this was really stupid, and rightfully so. I mean, it was the most. It was this very scuff, not as scuff as the first video, but like literally. We had like we'd found like boxes in like Dylan's closet, and we're literally stacking like Xbox boxes on like Xbox 360 boxes, and there's like a stack of 4 boxes with the mic on that. And we just sat in this really, just in a bedroom pretty much, and just did the first episode, which was normal porn. And my intention was to scare them. I wanted to not scare them, but like freak them out a little bit and like kind of recoil back. I didn't give them any prompts of what to actually do. I said, we're going to just sit down and we're going to read a story together. And we're going to call it Scare Your Friends because I'm going to scare my friends. So, and my felt too inclusive. So I decided to call it Your Friends.
Yeah.
And again, they just decided to, and then the episode happened. And there's like moments, I think in the first 20 minutes where I don't really say much. Because I'm literally like stunned watching it. Like they're just chatting about the story. Like, oh, well, I like this thing. Well, I kind of liked that. And then it just kind of became what it was. We put
any group of people in an analytical setting, and it's like, yeah, that's actually it's surprising how that happened.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things. I mean, and I think a lot of people have the same story where it's like you just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and just find what sticks. My Rob Gavigan impressions were not sticking.
That's how I coded the wiki.
But this did.
Yeah, that's how I threw together. I did the same thing you did. I bought the microphone I'm using today and have been using for the past 6 years or so on Amazon for like $99. And I don't usually buy things on the internet because I would rather go out and buy them specifically. But yeah, it showed up. I'm like, cool. Now I can actually do stuff that doesn't sound like shit because I was trying to do everything else on a little Logitech mic or something stupid.
I think there's always that story where it's like, yeah, I fucking, I used a broken Xbox microphone that you can get at like a fucking Friendly's.
I have the worst story of all of them.
Do you? I might have one.
Yeah, I walked.
All right, rebuttal time.
I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have plans to do anything really major. But my friend and my friend Nick and I wanted to do a little, creepypasta podcast. We did, obviously. It's on my channel. But he bought a Blue Yeti black mic. And he bought a mic stand and, got all of that off of Amazon, and we were using that. And so I walk into Goodwill one day and I'm walking past the front counter with all the electronics, like, where they put the controllers and the stupid DVDs. And there's a box there. It's a silver Blue Yeti. And I do a double take because it is 10 red hot American dollars.
What?
Yeah. 10? And so I spend the next 30 minutes of my time in Goodwill standing over that in the case to make sure nobody gets to it, waiting for somebody to come to come over, and so I can buy it immediately.
Oh my God.
I didn't look at anything else while I was there.
You just bought a mic that was $10.
Yeah, I bought my Blue Yeti, $10, and in the box, it's got a little scuff mark on the bottom of it where I think somebody had managed to.
Is it a Snowball Yeti or is it like the silver one?
It's the silver one.
Man, you spent $110 less than me.
Yeah, I have the silver one as well. So.
My friend Nick always has this complaint about me of that he will buy a thing and then I will find the same thing for vastly cheaper at Goodwill. Like the time I walked into a Goodwill and there was a SNES that looked like it had been in somebody's attic for its entire lifespan with how pristine it was for like $20.
My goodness.
Or my $30 3DS I backup I got for when my 6 or 7 year one craps out. I got for $30. I just said that. Oops.
Yeah, that's okay. It emphasizes the point.
But
you got a 3D fucking S for $30. Oh my God.
But the thing is, it was in a case, and it had Mario Kart 7. It looked for all the world like some kid got this for Christmas, played it once, it got stuck in the attic, and then grandma donated it.
Oh no.
It's
Probably.
perfect.
I'm jealous.
I'm the worst.
Jealous.
I'm the worst when it comes to electronics.
Well, at least you have a backup one. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I also have like 2 other DS Lites that I've gotten at various times, one of which looks absolutely fantastic.
Damn,
I have a
son.
problem with dead pixels and stuff under the screen, and I hate it.
Yeah. Jesus.
All right. It's interesting hearing all of the different backgrounds and like how people, I think David was always sort of interested in this stuff, like with the creative writing major and everything. And I'm a math major, like
nice.
I had no fucking interest in any of this stuff until recently, relatively speaking.
And you could throw math at me and I would go, fuck you, and walk away.
Most people do. But yeah. Like, hey, you're into math. No. Fuck you, nerd.
Hey, quick, what's 1 divided by 0? I killed him.
It's equal to your mom's weight.
Ooh!
Because it's undefined.
I mean, he is an eldritch entity that does not exist in the confines of reality and therefore does not have a functioning weight under your understanding of weight and the gravity. So yes, you are correct. Wait, does that ruin the joke?
I don't know. I've lost it.
I mean, oh gosh, sir, you have bested me verbally. Forsooth and forsage.
All right, so we've talked about some stuff here. I'm just gonna quickly jump in here because this is our first episode, and we definitely have some ideas for what we want to do with this project that we're all a part of, but we want to hear what you have to think. So I don't know, like this is probably gonna get posted on my YouTube channel for sure. There may be in the future there may be a website that I might try to create to post this, to get some MP3s for it. But we want to hear your feedback. I'm basically trying to say in this regard. I think that we can all agree that if you are listening to this, listen this far. Well, first of all, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Also, I'm sorry.
Right.
Cleric, stop apologizing.
No.
Do it.
And I think we're all open to the idea of doing a lot of different stuff. So
yeah. This was if anything, what this was like an icebreaker. It kind of gives a sense of who we are, what we do, why we're doing this. But if we come back to this, we will be fucking ready to talk about some horror history shit. But it's just specifically what's in our wheelhouse. And now you understand what the wheelhouse is, and it's a bunch of fucking spaghetti.
I think in the future we're going to have more specific topics that I want you guys to have. And I want to quickly actually touch on just an example of a topic that we may cover in the future. I just kind of want to ask you guys this because I don't know much about you two personally. Most of the things I've heard about David have come from me talking to Kayla,
right?
And Cleric is weird, so it's kind of hard for me to decide what Cleric is. But I had this idea of asking about like childhood experiences or like bad dreams that you may have had as kids. Is there anything that like stands out when it comes to bad dreams or anything spooky, scary childhood experiences? It could be an actual like thing where you were endangered, or maybe you thought you saw something, or maybe you really thought you saw like an apparition or a ghost, or maybe you just fell into a river like my brother once did, which
Man, I remember my last nightmare. So I don't know what brought this on, but like all I remember is it's in this very like peach colored pastel room with this very vivid, like bright orange cloud churning above a table, and somebody gets electrocuted with lightning.
Ooh.
But that was like almost 25, 30 years ago. And it's the last nightmare I ever had. And,
wow, really?
Yep.
Man, lucky
you. Yeah, no kidding. I still get nightmare. Not as many as I used to, but I was very prone to them as a kid. my mom was always really like, dude, you have a really active imagination. Because of that, I think you're more susceptible to. One of the things I was always really careful about, and I think one of the reasons I got to audio is because like visually stuff really gets to me.
Same.
Like one of my biggest and you've probably heard this from Kayla, I'm not sure, but one of my biggest like things that freaks me out in anything is anything to do with eye injury.
Yeah, I think you said that, and I think the other one, like sticking your hands in like murky water.
Yeah, murky water and eye injuries are my two biggest things, because like I'm always I can say like the murky water thing comes from specifically having seen the wrong part of a wrong movie at the wrong time. Namely, as shit as it is, Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D.
I happen to see.
It has been a hot minute since I've thought about 3D.
I figured it would be the case, but there's the scene where they're in the like underwater part, and like the corpse of someone suddenly floats up in front of the glass, like the corpse of someone the shark has eaten, and that visual, like I can look at it now and I'm like, oh, it doesn't bother me, but I remember as a kid seeing that and my heart fucking stopped, and it freaked me out so bad that every time I would think about if I'm going to be in the water and suddenly something, a mangled corpse or a shark or something, is going to loom out at me and I won't be able to do anything about it. So I must have been like 9 or 10 or something when that happened. So, but I think earlier what gave me nightmares was specifically the fucking girl from the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. There's one illustration. It's from the story The Haunted House. And all the other ones were creepy, but I could handle in that book. I looked at that one, I dropped the book. Like it was that bad. Like there's something about the way that woman's face looks all decayed and whatnot. And I used to have nightmares about her standing over my bed. And putting that in a modern context, I mentioned actually before we're recording, but I'm really bad at jump scares. So when we saw me and the other people from Creative Horror saw the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And there's this scene where the woman, that same character is in it. She's walking around. It's not that scary. But then when one of the characters is pulled under a bed and you see a close up of her face and she like hiss/screams at the camera, I jumped out of my seat and yelled, "Oh, fuck!" And this is my childhood terror staring me in the face and actually moving. And it wasn't anything else that thing did. It was that moment. And everybody else who was there, they can handle horror way better than I can in terms of visual. I don't go see horror in theaters. But they said they didn't jump through the movie. The only part where they jumped was when I jumped at that part. I scared them.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of horror movies because they're very predictable for me. I remember watching the 2006 version of Omen, and with my giant psychic brain, I could accurately predict every single jump scare, bar none, in that movie, based on color. And usually, when you see bright whites or red, falling off the logic of. Spoiler alert, falling off the logic of The Sixth Sense, that everything in that movie, when you see red, is an indication that something spooky is going to happen.
Yep.
And so color's a big indicator that something spook's going to happen if you want to avoid being scare jumped in the future, David.
That would be a fun topic. The art of the jump scare.
The art of the jump scare. Yeah, maybe.
Jump scare is an art if jump scare is an art if going on stage at an open mic comedy special and blowing raspberries into the microphone for 10 minutes.
I just thought when you said
okay, to be fair, art of the jump scare or lack thereof, because most often jump scares are not earned. They're cheap and stupid, and I hate them.
Oh, my favorite was the Slender Man one, where the music jump scares you. There's nothing there. There's just and it's just music. It was just the music. If I'm maybe remembering this wrong, but I know there was a point where you get jump scared by nothing.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I first of all, when you said like, oh yeah, jump scare, that's a great idea. Craig, put that in the notes, Craig. That's our recording bot that we're using to record this. Yes, thank you, Craig. Oh, watch out for
All
this,
hail
Craig.
our Aristomasters.
You gotta show gratitude to our robot over.
What the hell?
Fuck the old robot overlords.
Oh, that was. Hang on. I may cut this, but something weird just happened. Anyone else see that one of the bots just went offline?
Oh,
What the hell? How is that possible?
Oh no! Now I'm scared.
Exterminate, delete,
Did Craig kill that bot?
You are only superior.
You're our next.
You are only superior in one respect.
What is that?
You are superior at dying.
Oh, fuck you. I'm going to fuck your mother. Delete that pussy.
It's like Stephen Hawking meets the speaking clock. Sorry. Tangents.
Yeah. Backtrack. Mollify.
I'm more concerned that one of the bots just died, and I think Craig killed it.
Craig may have killed that bot. That's what completely distracted me.
Would that explain why there's a robot corpse shambling towards me? Oh wait, no, that's Bob. Get out of here.
Freaking Bob. Bob was the original creator of the wiki. That's the story we're not going to tell.
Oh, he only gets out of the basement sometime.
It's what happens because Cleric had to. Whenever Cleric sheds his skin, he leaves a cadaver behind.
There's a trail.
My ribcage cracks open. New organs spill forth.
It's like when a newt. It's like when a newt eats its own like peeled skin.
Cleric's just a Panagalon, honestly. His head flat detail.
Do what now?
A Panagalon.
Every time you cut out, I jump a little. I'm not gonna lie because I feel like I'm gonna get disconnected again.
I don't.
Is that what keeps you up at night?
That's what keeps me up at night. Me being disconnected from the internet.
You know, I shouldn't be allowed that knowledge because, as everyone might be aware, Blue Yetis come with a.
Anyway, we're gonna ignore that joke. I'm trying to think of like, because there definitely was like some dreams, especially since again I had a lot of money as a kid. So what would make the nightmares especially terrifying was that like even when I woke up and knew that everything wasn't real, I would have this massive migraine to contend with, coming right out of like a nightmare. So I did again as a kid. I think there was some correlation between migraines and nightmares. I guess maybe there is. I'm not really sure. But I can maybe see like being stressed out and sick and falling asleep sick would make you maybe think of some things. For like, I think there was a dream I had like 6 nights in like a month. It was the same exact dream where I have in my house. We had a kitchen. And there was like a wall that like divided like 3 other rooms, like an L-shaped wall that kind of divided up 4 different rooms. But you could kind of like walk in a circle around these 4 rooms, like, you know.
Right.
And the dream was it was always the same thing. It was in my house. It was dark, and it was just me running around in a circle because a ghost was chasing me the entire time. And I don't know, like this could be just my memory being clear. I definitely remember having this dream. But I always remember like feeling colder and colder in the dream. I would feel like the room would get colder with every dream. Like I felt like something would happen. Like at one point, like I think like someone screamed at me. Like I heard a human voice screaming at me from the front, but like it was just weird, like this weird mangled mess or whatever. And then I think
the consistency is creepy though. Like
I guess it was the same dream. It was me running. There was always like this weird shit happening. It was like I don't remember it. Like I literally would fall asleep and it's just me running. Like I don't remember. It never starts, never really ends. It was always me running in a circle, basically. And sometimes I would feel the room get cold. I would sometimes hear voices, and I would be afraid to look back. But I could feel like this presence like right behind me. So I assumed it was like a fucking like child's version of a ghost. It was like a white sheet ghost.
Those are so
like
creepy.
Clear. Though. I mean, like I don't know if I would find it too creepy. I mean, I was a little kid.
I have night terrors every so often about black cloaked or black shrouded figures.
I did have a night.
creeping
I did
toward my
also have a
bed.
night terror when I was like 15 after taking melatonin. I did have a night terror. But I think eventually what ended up happening, I think on the last one, I think it was like this. It was a little poetic, really. I tripped in the dream and fell. And I turned around and I saw this white light engulf me, and I woke up screaming.
Whoa.
And I finally, I think my mom came in and I told her everything. And then from that point on, she basically reassured me that the ghost wouldn't get me. And it never did. So I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe the reassurance that finally, because I was really young. I was maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the line between reality and what's real and not real when you're 7 can be misstrued a little bit, especially when you have constant migraines and your head's constantly in pain and all this other stuff.
That sucks.
I don't know. But then the night terror one was I was 15 and I wasn't really getting the migraines anymore, but I took melatonin once to help me sleep. I was having trouble sleeping, and my mom's like, here, you should try melatonin, which is a normal thing that people use. I'm not saying you should use it. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. This was my first and only experience using this thing.
Right.
I remember I fell asleep normally, and I had sleep paralysis, basically. Where, now for those who don't know what sleep paralysis is, basically means your mind is awake, and you're basically in a kind of a state between awake and not awake, where you're able to see your surroundings, or at least you think you can. You can see your room and stuff, but you can't move because you're asleep.
Oh God.
It's a real thing called sleep paralysis. So this is it's I can see my clock, and I have no idea, but it's 5:30. It's 5:30 in the morning, so it's like a glowish dusk. And I think I took the melatonin because it was a Monday, because I think I was supposed to take it. I was stressing out about a test that I was supposed to take, and I think that's why I took the melatonin, so I can get some sleep. So the way that my room is set up, or it used to be set up, I had my bed, and I was looking straight forward with my back pretty much against the wall, basically. So I'm looking out into my room. And I'm basically looking directly at my dresser. I have a dresser that has all my clothes in it. And right behind the dresser, there is a window. So the gist of it was I saw what looked to be a black shadow figure kind of get its way into my window. I saw it open the window, crawl in, close the window, kind of give me a look. And then it walked to the foot of my bed. I could see it walk to the foot of my bed, but I couldn't move my head. So it was in the room with me, but I couldn't see it anymore.
Oh God.
Fun.
And then I think what ended up happening was I didn't feel anything for a bit, but I began to notice that in the dream, and this again, I woke up, this didn't really happen, but I felt the blanket on the end of the bed. My feet started getting cold all of a sudden, because in my dream, the blanket was slowly moving up my leg. So something was pushing the blanket up, essentially. And then I woke up, and my head, it was really weird, because my head was in a completely different position, almost. I think maybe I turned my head or something, but I got up and I was fine. But it freaked me out so much that I never took melatonin.
And rightfully so. Holy shit.
So that's pretty much it. I mean, those are the 2 dreams. I don't know about childhood stuff. I mean, there's been I don't know about childhood. Do you have any childhood stuff, guys, or no? Not really.
I mean, I kind of gave mine because, again, for me, it was those 2 things that hit me,
Right. Yeah, I guess the dreams and
they lingered for a long time. I couldn't look at that illustration for a long time without cringing and thinking about those nightmares I'd had of this woman coming in, and sometimes in these dreams she would just stand there, and other times she would get right up in my face and just scream at me. So
I don't know what this means, but I wouldn't even call them nightmares. I've had dreams where I was on death row.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, and there was an awareness. I can't even really, but it was always there was a knowledge that I limited amount of time left on this earth. like I knew there was a set date that I was gonna die. Like I was thinking to myself, okay, I got 2 weeks to live, 2 weeks, like that kind of thing. Like, what am I gonna do in these 2 weeks? They're gonna execute me, blah blah. So yeah, and then some of those dreams got really weird. But I've had probably like maybe more than 10, honestly, of those kind of dreams like my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it is. I don't know what that means. I'm sure some person's gonna say like, "Oh, it's because you masturbate too much." Some other whatever.
You're gonna get all Freudian up in here.
It's because you don't masturbate enough.
You should masturbate more.
You must obey your leader. Masturbate 24/7 in public. Sorry, that's a quote from something. Anyway, wow,
Obey the pigeons.
this got deep.
Yeah. So we've gone now for. So I started my timer when I didn't start a timer when we started, but I think like while Cleric was finishing up his stuff about the wiki, I started a timer on my phone.
Okay.
We're now at 1 hour and 10 minutes from like the end of Cleric's story.
Oh,
so we've
wow.
gone for I think probably close to 90, probably if not more than 90 minutes, probably at least at this point.
I think that's I would say
joined
that's
an hour and a half ago, literally, exactly.
Right. But okay, so I guess like normally on Scary Friends I would ask for like what your final thoughts were, but this is a little bit different obviously. But is there anything like
Spaghetti with
I'll
strawberry
let this
jam.
be like this will be like the final few minutes of the show. Is there anything that you guys meant to ask somebody? Is there anything you wanted to talk about that's relevant to what we were talking about that you may have forgotten about? Now would be the time.
Oh.
Anything from you, Cleric or David? I can't really think of anything. So
yeah, I feel like we actually I thought we were firing on all cylinders pretty well this session. So like I don't know. I may have some that I might think of later, but right now I think it's good. It's like I know you guys
at the beginning of I'll tell you this at the beginning of every episode, and I'm not suggesting we only make this like let's read the comments thing. Let's have an episode at the beginning of every episode from here on out. We'll start each episode with a segment called follow up.
Sounds good.
Follow up basically means that we'll release is there anything that you wanted to say after the recording was done that you thought about later? Like you can write it. You two could write it down if you want, or if you just happen to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do an episode called.
Maybe we can see if other people we can see if other people want to follow up with us.
Right.
If we didn't address something.
Well,
That's actually really.
Well, pulling back behind the curtain. I don't know how the upload schedule is going to work yet. So I don't know. I want to be in a position where it's like we record like 3 of these before releasing like the first one. You know what I mean?
That's fair. I mean, honestly, however you want to do it.
Right. I'm just suggesting it as like a possibility.
I like it. I think it's a good suggestion.
Sounds delicious.
All right. Well, Cleric sounds hungry, so
I am definitely hungry.
Oh, really?
I could go for some ass.
I forgot to eat today.
Okay.
I'm bad about
All right,
that.
Cleric. I was gonna say something really.
Feed yourself,
I
goddammit.
was saying something really messed up, but I'm not gonna say it now. That would have been bad.
Oh, come on. No, it's fine. Restraint.
Yeah.
Restraint's important.
All right. Well, I guess this has been the pilot episode. So, again, I think in the future we're going to talk about more specific topics, some that you may come up with. So leave comments. We want to see your comments, whether it's on YouTube or through some other medium. You could hit us up on Twitter. I think we all have Twitters that we have. And I guess I might as well just I think Cleric has a YouTube channel. It's still just Cleric of Madness, right?
Yeah, it's the one with my symbol, not the other one. I don't know which one.
And then he has a Twitter, which is
links will be
there. Yeah. So I think we're all so you can contact us if you have as well. However you want to get to us, just give us ideas. So but yeah, I think this was good. I think we did what we set out to do. I think it was a little bit longer than I thought it would be, but that's okay. More content. So join us on the next episode. I'm not entirely discuss on our official episode 1, but until then, this has been me, John, A.K. Skillfully, and I've been with David and Cleric. And so we will see you on the next episode. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
Stay spooky, y'all.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
There's not a lot that I wouldn't do.